Today I just wanted to talk about, where I am in life right now. Because, obviously, uh, things don't look the same as things looked at the beginning of the year. Um, at the beginning of the year, I was going through a very tough time with my job, and I reached a breaking point that made me just quit my job because I was just dealing with so much stress, so much anxiety, with all the toxicity at the workplace, the racism, and I just reached a breaking point and I was like, fuck this. I just quit without notice, and then I was kind of in limbo for like 2 weeks. I was just watching a bunch of like life sucks videos and very like anti-natalism, nihilism, and doomer, and I was really getting deep into that stuff because I was just like really like I was really like done with everything. And
I will say, I feel like this is a common life outrage type of just string of thought slash like just if I had to describe you life outrage, there's no difference of like you consuming that content and it's pretty much how you are. But let's keep it going with the job. Quitting it. You have a place I think to stay. Maybe you don't need the job, but I understand the stress and if you gotta quit, you gotta quit. But if you had more maybe responsibilities, I would think that you have no choice but to keep going. But at least you have the opportunity to quit on your own terms, and let's see if you're feeling better, right? So let's keep it going.
you know, I had so much like built-in frustration inside me, and I needed to let it out in some way, and I couldn't stand just like writing, you know, typing and just making a post about it or something, and then I wanted to really like express myself, and I wanted people to see me express myself and feel my emotion, and just because I never got that. I would explain part of this awareness and my issues and stuff, and I was always getting dismissed, never feeling understood, never feeling seen, and and it's not that I wanted I wanted validation, or I wanted recognition, but it's just because after the number of times like things don't work out, when you try to explain things to people and people don't get it, you kind of just develop this mindset of just like, well, I'm not going to depend on people anymore. I'm just going to stay, like, keep these thoughts to myself and, do my own thing. And yeah.
Irrespective of everything, I will say I really appreciate Life Outrage you sharing the thoughts because it doesn't matter about validation to your point. And you passed 10K plus subs on YouTube, and what that means to me is there's people that resonate with the message. So even me, like, yeah, I may laugh or whatever at what you have to say because I have my own opinion and thoughts on it. The fact that you're sharing it and then I have my own opinion to then share off of it, I think is very valuable to folks that are either on the same path, you know, about to be on maybe a similar path, God forbid, or maybe they're past it and they want to remember, times when, right before success hit or you're out of this slump and whatnot. So honestly, I do appreciate you sharing. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's important. And yeah, I haven't felt hurt on many things, and I agree with people. They're unpredictable, but they're subjective beings. They're not robots or AI or, you know, coding where it's like math based logic. So I agree. And where you are at life right now, I'd really love to know.
If I do talk about it, I'm not expecting anything in return. It's just like I talk about it, you don't agree, or you disagree, you dismiss me. Well, okay, who cares? I'm not going to cry about it. You know, whatever. They believe what they want to believe. I believe what I believe, and um, but at the same time, it gives you this very isolating feeling. When you get told that, oh, you're too depressed. You should get help. Go see a psychologist. Uh, things like go seek therapy. And stuff like that. And it's just like,
I'll say, I mean, in my own life, for you, it's like, hey, people say you're too depressed. For me, people say I'm too happy, I'm too joyous. How can you be this basically delusional is what they're trying to say without, saying that exact word. And, you're not stupid, I'm not stupid. You watching right now, nobody's actually stupid unless you are. And I'm just saying, yes, it feels isolated because as depressed as you may be in your corner, I'm so joyous on the other side. But it's not that you're better, I'm better. It's not like this, but it really is the spectrum of emotion. It's like being on the other tail end, which is I think why these videos, life outrages, draw my attention, is because I'm like, how can there be such an individual like this, right? That's in the state that you are, but you may be thinking the same thing, like how is there another person on the other side who's the inverse. And so I think it's kind of that opposites attract type of situation. And I think, yeah, controversy is what attracts attention, because when it's controversial or not like a finite answer of, hey, this is like 1 + 1 = 2, it's kind of like, I think this but the other side thinks this, and it's kind of divisive, right? In that's always like human attraction of like, if we need to figure out something, you're this way, I'm this way, but me reacting slash giving my response to you and this topic is in itself just proof that, hey, yes, you may feel alone, but I'm also sharing that I feel alone at times. And us connecting as people that are alone, that are totally maybe different from a mindset perspective, but it's like, I've been in your shoes. And I think that's why I can share this message so confidently, because you're not alone, as obvious or as everyone says it. But yeah, YouTube subscribers count, comments count, and it's okay not to feel that as validation, but know that even if no one was watching, I think you'd still be creating these videos, as am I. And I think that's basically proof of, hey, like, we really appreciate you sharing the message. And without it, if you just stopped posting, I think people would be very concerned about what happened, in a negative stance, just based off of the vibe you give off. At the same time, we're still here listening to you, as you keep on going. So thank you for what you're doing, and let's keep it going.
No, this is like, I know deep down that is not what is going to help me. What I know deep down, that I knew that I had to express myself in a way, and and like communicate with people that feel something similar, at least in some capacity. And so I was like, okay, man, let me just make this video, and in that first video, it was called I was not made for this, I'm not made for this life. And that was the first time I just let everything out, and it felt really good. And my channel was pretty small back then, and of course, obviously, but it still felt freeing. It still felt like a breath of fresh air, that I can finally let everything out. I don't have to reduce, I don't have to adjust myself, I don't have to minimize my thoughts. It was just all out there, and I don't even swear that much with like other people. I only swear when I'm like in my own thoughts and in my own frustrations. So whatever you guys see on the camera, that's me like completely unfiltered, no mask whatsoever. That's like the real me that you're seeing right now, and that's the real me that you saw in my first few videos. It's the real me. This whole channel is the real me, completely unfiltered, no mask whatsoever. And then
I love that. I love it. I don't have much more to say, because I absolutely love it. And I think that's why people resonate with you, because it's not about the content of what you're saying only that is so valuable. It's just the fact that, hey, you're human, I'm human, we're all human, and this is what it is. Point blank. No two ways around it.
like leading up to the creation of my channel, I was watching channels like Tragic Reality, Born into a Corrupt System, and yeah, those were the two main ones that really like inspired me to start this channel, because for the first time I saw people talking about the system, and not just, oh, life sucks, everything sucks, I'm lonely, I don't have any friends, all that stuff, and a lot of...
I gotta say, it's ironic saying that, because personally felt that you're like the complaining type of guy, like boohoo. But it's interesting and cool to see that you look at other channels like they're even more like my life sucks, and you're not doing exactly that. So it's actually cool to hear your thoughts like this, because I'm actually responding to this because it's like, oh boohoo, look at this person, let me just say like you don't need to do this. But it's cool that you're kind of taking it into the meta of like, oh, this is the why, or because the system is like this, I feel like this, versus like I feel like crap, period. So respect.
A lot of content on YouTube is those types of things. Oh, I'm 35 and I'm single, I'm lonely, I have no job, and things like that. I don't have kids, and okay, this is the type of content you see all the time on YouTube. But I just cannot resonate with videos like that. I resonate like for the first time with Tragic Reality and Born into a Corrupt System. I was like, oh, finally, people talking about the system, and not only talking about the system, but they were able to kind of just laugh about it, the same way I would often laugh about it myself sometimes. And that was that was like a relief to find out about, and that there were other people like this out there. So that's why it gave me the inspiration to create this channel. And because of my first few videos, because I was in a very dark place and I was not feeling well at all. I was really like thinking about really dark shit, dark thoughts. Because of that, I feel like a lot of the people that got onto my channel that seem to assume that that is who I am all the time. That's going to be me for forever. And it's
I'm really glad you're saying this point, because I also thought like, I know, like, you have not felt well for some time, and it's cool to see that you're also sharing that it won't be like this all the time. And that's like, I'm not trying to say like, woe is you, woe is me, life sucks, because if it sucks forever, then that's like boring. And I'm really interested to see what you have to say here now, because that is really cool to hear. Because when I felt this way, I just didn't think about having the therapeutic feeling of, it's like journaling or writing out your thoughts or in a diary, just expressing it out there, right, and letting it out. And I'm on this side, right, like I'm all happy go lucky and all this. But no, it wasn't like this. So I feel that you will thank your younger self that, hey, like you were there and you don't want to go back there, you don't need to go back there, there's no value in being there. And it's not like you always have to be happy or joyous and all this nonsense, right? It totally is the ebbs and flows of life. But yeah, really want to see what you have to say.
feels like the moment I shifted towards like laughing and smiling and maybe talking a bit about giving a bit of hope here and there, I almost feel like for some people it felt like a betrayal, because people want me to stay in a dark place. Some viewers out there actually want me to stay depressed, stay in existential despair all the time.
Those people, they're there. And if you believe in like the frequencies and manifestation and all this, that's cool. But I'll say point blank, it's a journey. And if we just say it's point A to point B, let's say point A was where you started, Life Outrage, and point B is where I am, and I'm sure there's someone even more happy-go-lucky than myself. They're just still towards that point a a point, and just not there to the B point. In other words, you're just ahead or along the journey. And I'm not saying I'm the destination. I'm just saying I'm, just along the path, right? And I'll also maybe come back to the mindset of the videos that you first shared on the channel, but hopefully never again. And I have kind of frameworks of never to get back to that point, because it's more doom and gloom and you can't have progress and you kind of are stuck in a pit. And when you're in that rock bottom type of feeling, you're like, okay, until you have that simple but crucial realization, like, yo, I'm at rock bottom, and since I can't go any further down, there's only one direction and it's upwards. Can only then you figure out like, okay, yeah, so anything I do now makes no sense other than anything that I can do for progress, which only then will help me get out of this rut, rock bottomness, whatever. So that's awesome, and screw those people that expect you to be a certain way, because those people, they'll go find the next Life Outrage, individual who's like your mindset in the first few videos, let them go party over there, and you don't need to worry about that. But I'm really glad like you shared these cognizant thoughts about what's going on and how it's been.
And they expect my content to be like this all the time. I remember there, in my Q&A, my first Q&A that I made after I hit 10,000 subscribers, I remember this comment from this viewer, and he said something like, "Oh, I was a big fan of you, but after seeing this video, I see who you truly are now, and I don't like it. I don't support it anymore," or something like that. And I was like, and this person didn't even explain why exactly, but I have a feeling why. And I think this is exactly what I'm talking about here. I just feel like this person probably expected me to be in existential despair consistently. And the moment I show any bit of laughing, smiling, joking around, little glimpses of hope here and there, the moment I show any glimpses of that, it feels like a betrayal to some people. And this brings me to my next point that, I made a video back in end of March called "I'm Tired of Existing," and that video has 102K views right now, which is absolutely insane. I didn't expect it. But it also made me realize something. It feels like, I don't know if it's a mixture of algorithm or just people just loving to see me in a dark place. And I really was in a dark place. I really was. That happened shortly after my car crash.
I don't think it's people wanting to see you or liking to see you in a dark place. I think if we're all human, which basically we are in this case, we're all mirrors to each other, is my belief. And I think a lot of people who got pushed the video in the algorithm were basically reflections of the feeling you were feeling. And 102K views over that time frame goes to show, if anything, to the algorithm, aka the audience or the people watching, yeah, there's a lot of people that are maybe tired of existing, or similar kind of mindset and ideology. If you just take out you as a person and how you look and who you are and all of this, the thoughts are basically the same from a human perspective, and they resonate with the message. So interesting thought to see you talk about your own stance of why and how it kind of hit that threshold. But it's not about the view count. If views never existed, how would you know that that video was the one that resonated with the people? Well, eventually one fine day, someone would mention which video do you know me from? If you asked your viewers, right, eventually that would come up more often. But it's good to see that, hey, the views actually tell us kind of the analytical of landscape of what's going on. But interesting.
And I was just so fucking done with everything, and it was just the experience at the job, and then the car crash on top of it, and then multiple things, the awareness at the same time, the awakening that was really overwhelming, especially at the time, and this is in the beginning of the year. So of course that "I'm Tired of Existing" video was really it was real. I was really in that place. I did not just do it for views. And and it's interesting because, like I said, people expect me to be in that "I'm tired of existing" phase all the time, and I can't. No, that's not how awareness works. At least in my case, that's not who I am really. And I realized that in videos like that, and most recently with my "I'm Done With Everything" video, which has a very similar vibe, similar title as well, and I was genuinely feeling like that. What was it, 2 weeks ago? Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I was genuinely feeling like I was done with everything, and it was real, and it ended up getting the most views I had in so long. And one thing I noticed is that what people want? Is that what people want from me only? They just want to see me in despair. That's why they watch this stuff. And
I watch you because it makes me laugh to see how long and how many iterations of your despair just exist, right? And I'm not laughing at you. It's unfortunate. I've also had some life events which you could say traumatic, tragic, all the things, but that's where I was in your space. I'm tired of existing. Screw everything, F this, right? And those people, the issue is yeah, they maybe subscribed or liked your videos because they're in that, mind space. But I think they are happy and comfortable knowing that at least they know, how bad it is for them. There's a saying, knowing the devil that you do is better than the devil than you don't. Something like this, right? So basically, if they know that, hey, I feel bad, at least they know they feel bad. But if they actually have to put in the work, it's what it is to feel better. It actually is harder to even do the next step to feel better. So it's easier to writhe in, one's own pain. And I think those people are the ones that are like, hey, I'm still in the pain. It's really nice to see somebody as, a community leader being so open that they're in this pain. And wait, community leader is not in the pain anymore. They're not the leader anymore. This guy sucks. Screw this guy. I'm going to go find the next guy who's, suffering just like me or worse, because now I can feel better about myself, even though I hate that type of mindset. It's a them problem. It's not you, in my opinion. And very interesting. Very interesting.
But I'm going to be honest with myself. I can't sustain that, life sucks, everything sucks all the time. Like, I'm obviously going to feel that way here and there, because this is what happens with this awareness. And, sometimes things get overwhelming, and it just happens, but it's not, for me personally, it's not something consistent, because awareness is not just despair all the time, everything sucks. Awareness can be insight. Awareness can be about giving information about the system, giving information about things like with the system and society, how the way things work. I can be going to the supermarket, going on a drive, and I can just notice something that just feels wrong to me. Or, I'm in a crowd full of people and I will look at people's behavior and I just notice things, and it makes me think about something. I could be cooking dinner, and I'm just thinking about something. This is what awareness really is like. This is what happens when you live with an inner world that's so loud, because we just constantly think about things.
I will say, it's a human thing to feel that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. And awareness is, the opposite of that expression of ignorance is a bliss. Trust me, when you're a sheep, when you're a follower, or when you're a kid and you're just doing stuff until you get disciplined, reprimanded, or shouted at, or hey, don't do that, Billy, until something happens, not that you learn a lesson or not, but however people teach lessons, it's all a different story, right? And I would say awareness sucks in the beginning, because it's dang, you actually are aware of, for example, if you needed to do some path or some steps to get to a certain destination. So you have a goal and you're like, if I do all these steps I can get there. But you have this goal and you never thought about it, or you didn't know how to think or how to have a strategy around getting from point A to point B, right? Yeah, you could kick yourself for being aware of, oh, I'm so stupid, I did this and that and the other, and I could have done it so much better, right? But then with that awareness, it's kind of what you do next, I think, is the most important, which sounds obvious, but it's okay, accept the fact where you are now, but where you want to get to, you can still get there. Yeah, it sucks. You're not going to get there as fast. Time is time, right? We can't have time travel just yet, I guess, as a technology, but we have AI, lol. But, until that happens, this is what it is. So instead of crying about the past, we can only think about the future. So.
And this is mainly what this channel is really about now. It's just to express those inner thoughts, those thoughts that I have in my daily life, and sometimes I have these thoughts, like I said, I'm just cooking food or just trying to find something to eat, and then something sparks in me about the money making machine, or how we have so much frozen food comes from the way the system works, and with productivity and everything. And okay, that's another whole topic. That's another topic for another video.
I love how you catch yourself with that, because I'm laughing because I'm I get it. I totally get it. Trust me, I get it. And yes, it is a topic for another video.
What I'm trying to say is that when you have this awareness, you just think about things constantly. And most of my content is about those thoughts. My content is not just everything sucks all the time, and I'm just not in that place right now. I'm not in that place where, it's about, oh, life sucks, everything sucks, we should not have children. And speaking of the we should not have children, at the beginning of the year, or even just last year, last fall, I was already thinking about some of these thoughts already, and this was very early on in the awakening. So I was going online and seeing things, and I heard about this term called antinatalism, and I was like, oh, I guess that's who I am now, because I wouldn't put, I wouldn't bring a child into a world like this. So I guess I am natalist.
I know you're going to keep on going on this thought. I will say that I also used to, I think in this fashion. Maybe in my, years, I'm talking like 15 years ago of my life, where it was like, oh, these labels, basically, like, while you're figuring out your identity, not that you haven't, but you're figuring out yourself, like who I am, who am I, where are you getting your confidence from, like, are you self-confident, do you have the power to stand on your own 2 feet in whatever way that you say that, yeah, like, I'm powerful, I'm capable, I'm stable, whatever, right? And I used to attribute all these labels to myself. Like, I remember in my high school periods, one of my best friends, he called me a social butterfly, which in hindsight is not a big deal, but to me I took a little offense, because to me was like, hey, I'm not a friend in a core group, 4 or 5 people that like know each other for the next 50 years of their life or whatever. It felt kind of like, oh, I'm a friend who has a bunch of friend groups, but I'm not quote unquote loyal to any which one. And after I put that label on myself, like, I realized, like, oh, like, it sucked at the time, but later in life, like, obviously now I'm very social, and I can meet anybody and anyone, and I'm happy to meet them. I still love people and all this, even though I agree with you, life outrage, because they're basically unpredictable / subjective. It's kind of like, all right, well, I'm not going to expect anything from you, which is why I think I'm so happy, because the whole, like, where is happiness when, aka rather, what is sadness? It's when you expect something and then you don't hit the mark. Yeah, you aren't happy, because you literally expected something, it didn't happen, you're like, dang it. But if you expect nothing and then something happens, I mean, I'm damn happy, because it's basically like you expected 0 or 1 and you got 5, versus expecting 5 and then you only got 1, and right, it's like this. So interesting, man.
But then I started getting comments like, "Oh, you're not a real anti-natalist because you're saying you would still have children if you're rich, or if you say you would still have children if we lived in a better world, or if we had a better system, things like that." And I was just like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna like ditch the labels. I am not anti-natalist anymore."
I'm reacting to this in real time. Like, he just uploaded this basically, so it's like, wow, very impressive to see. Like, we're thinking on the same like frequency, wavelength, levels, whatever, right? Because yeah, once you ditch the labels, because the labels, like any word, right? Word has a definition in the dictionary. You go tell somebody to repeat the definition word to word for a certain word, like, look, man, like, it's not even about education. We're all human, so our interpretation of these words, the fact that there's literature, because a string of words painted a certain way, aka like a poem or an essay or whatever, can mean something to one person and it may mean something to others. And there's this whole thing of reading comprehension. What did you understand by reading this, chapter 14, when this character A against the protagonist, this happened? What was it really meaning? What did it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying don't be philosophical, but literally labels are a good guidance, I would say. But if you label something, unless it's like a harsh chemical and it will kill you, and that label means yes, you are dead, like the signs we use, like the hazard sign, like with the skull and the X, and certain things we all kind of hopefully understand, like, don't touch this electrical pole or you may be shocked to death. Like, I understand those labels because the probability of you dying is probably really high, right? But these labels in society, today we say one thing, and before, it's like, if you don't have kids, you're almost not a real person who, if you don't have a partner and kids, you're what's wrong, you're not a real family person. And then other family people that basically feel ostracized. And similar to here, like, people are labeling you. When you give your own label, then people are like, oh, but this label means this and that means that, and da 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 da. And that's why we have so much, I feel, issues in all of this, because as all humans, we're always trying to understand everything, and we're giving labels because that's the best thing we can do to assigning meaning. But the issue is there's people that are just like, this is the meaning, but they don't think for like the next step or the bigger picture. They're just like, if this equals that and that equals means like you're an idiot, then you're an idiot. But now you're saying that you're an idiot, but you're not. But like, but I'm definitely not the idiot, so you are. Like, oh, this is nonsense. So, yeah, man, screw them.
Or like not only that, but I just do not want to associate myself with any label or any ideology or whatever. It's just I don't want that associated with me, because people would just use it against you because you're not following the exact rules of antinatalism. You're not exactly this and that. And it's just like, why at this point, you know? And a lot of the times with these labels, especially early on, I was finding out about these things for the first time, and you know, about these new words called doomer and you know, things like that. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm this, I guess I'm that, I guess I'm this. And you feel like when you're very early on into this awakening, you kind of feel like you want to belong. You know, you want to belong into a group, to a label, a name, an ideology. And it was a natural thing for me to do, to just say, hey, I guess I'm a doomer, I guess I'm an antinatalist. And I was just saying all these things, but over time I realized that I cannot deal with the labels, I cannot deal with the ideologies. I do not want to associate myself with any of that stuff. And what bothers me the most is that people come onto my channel and assume that I'm black pill, incel, whatever the crap. Like, I never even knew what those words meant until people have commented it. Like, I mean, I'm genuinely serious, because I don't spend that much time on the internet regarding content like that. So when I knew about these terms, I found out about these terms, I was like, huh? These people actually think that I'm like that? That I'm like hating on women and shit like that, and talking and focusing about my looks and things like that? Like, no, I'm not that at all. So
People will interpret anything just like books to other words others are saying. So I totally hear you, because they're just like in their own world, and they are getting an input, aka your video, which is deriving an output, which is a thought in their brain. Or like me responding to this is, I really do appreciate, even though up to this point, and this video is changing even now what I think, because I definitely thought you're like, you know, hey, all not, you know, I don't even know all the words you just said, or like the incel and all of these things, right? Like, I understand in theory, but I look at it like, hey, you know, if you ask me, a guy on a random data point, you know, I would just say the obvious. Hey, man, get out of your room. You live in Canada. There's a winter time, and I personally think I'm diagnosed, if you want to say it, like SAD, which is a seasonal depression symptom. That's not even SAD, but whatever. Like, right, like when it's winter time, I'm not as happy. When it's sunny, oh my gosh, I'm, you know, more happy, right? And so, like, I'm not gonna say environment is everything, but it is a majority. But then from that input of the environment, what is the output? In other words, what are your own personal thoughts? So, man, people.
Kind of like, I don't know, I was really bothered by the fact that people, you know, tried to label me as those things when I'm clearly not. You know, they just wanted to project their own view onto me and call it a day. But, so so if you're like black pill or, you know, or anything, you know, this channel is not for you. You know, I would just say right here, right now, this channel is not for you if you think that I'm that way. And oh my god! And I remember a comment. A comment even said something like, "You cannot hide what you are," and stuff like regarding me being a black pill. You know, you cannot hide what you are. Like, it's like this person wanted me to be that in a way when I'm really not. So it's honestly fucking insane when you think about it. And I don't know if you guys ever like, you guys ever pay attention to like the personality types, MBTI, whatever. But I am, and some of you probably don't really give a shit about this, but I'm an INFP and sometimes leading INFJ. So, you know, I always knew that I had like a dreamer side, an idealistic side to myself, and
So really quick, this is the Myers Briggs stuff. I don't know off the top of the head, off of my head at least, what it all maps to. You can probably Google it on the side. I think I'm like ENTJ, ENTP, something like this, where I'm like extroverted, and the J is a little judgmental, but similar to Life Outrage here, like he's more on the I side for the first letter, which is introvert. But the last letter, like the judgment comes from like maybe humans, at least in my personal experience, not following through with what I expected out of them. But who am I to expect something out of the same species of my own kind, right? Like, but when you're younger, it's kind of like you're told the stories of like, oh, Christmas is December 25th, and Santa Claus is coming to town with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and then you're looking for Santa. And the next thing you know, the tooth fairy ain't real, and then you grow up and you realize, you know, it's the awareness that comes in. So, intriguing.
I definitely know now how much like you know complying to the system, doing interviews at jobs, going through jobs, and working a 9 to 5, and all of this stuff, and commuting to work and doing the same routine as everybody else, kind of made me lose that side of myself. Because before, when I was still in school, I was still kind of like, I still had my dreamer side. I still like had things that I wanted to do, and I still wanted to travel the world. I still wanted to make films, and then once I started working all the time, I just didn't really care about it anymore. I really just put all of that aside. I remember being so artistic as well before.
You still have that art side, and I will just share the fast path, the fast track to getting out of however you're feeling or how basically it goes. I've been working in like corporate America for almost 10 years, and I get it. I 100% understand. And what it is just like labels. I labeled myself as, oh, I'm the 9 to 5 W2 100K plus 6 figure whatever worker, and oh, this is what it is, right? IT professional and all of this nonsense. And when you realize how the system in the world works, as you know, and anyone watching probably knows from this point, in the end, jobs are just jobs. Like they tell you to get skills. Why? Because the person at the top, who basically, I'm going to speak freely, just like Laugh Outrage, the world is nothing but, when we mean slavery, it's not a bad or good thing. It is fact of somebody is there that's a human who, it's like a pyramid scheme, right? Like if we all agree culturally, like if we look at our parents, assuming they're taking care of us, that there are like bosses per se or caretakers or what have us, we listen to them. Now, you don't need to think about boss and corporate and organization and how like a business is formed, right? But these systems and processes have been successful by whoever the heck figured it out. Like we actually know who figured it out. Like if you look at Ford and Carnegie Mellon and Wells Fargo and like all of like the background of the industrialization, the industrial age, right, of America, of when we started needing to garner and harness these resources to basically have like an expected output by input that now we have more. So in other words, after agriculture, we figured out like, oh, iron, steel, like we can do things and blah blah blah, right? Blacksmithing, goldsmithing, silversmithing, if that's a thing, it all became like trades, right? Which we all understood like these skills have value because now you have shelter, now you have food, now you have reliable water, right? And then all of that means what? You have more safety per se or resources to then do the next thing, which is basically population growth as humans' purpose. I'm not going to say that's right or wrong, but that's all I guess what we all agree on, right? From a holistic standpoint, apart from the inner workings of how many people want to be anti-natalism or whatever this like not having kids thing is, right? Which I know there's a video on the channel of Life Outrage. It's like how kids keep you trapped in the system, something like this. So, anyways, I understand that viewpoint, but all of that to say, like, man, goodness gracious.
Like before, like going through all these jobs and stuff, and again, like a lot of those things got buried deep down, and and having stepped away from a job really did allow me to reconnect with that part of myself, with those parts of myself, and
that's why they say, like, and I'm guilty of it, I don't meditate every day or journal or something like this, but me making these videos like Life Outrage, just basically speaking to a friend who I don't know. Like, if we're being real, right? Like, I say a bunch of stuff, but in the end, like, I think we'd be friends because it's like about leveling up each other or seeing different viewpoint, which is intriguing to me, which reminds me why not to progress backwards, but it can also push me forwards because I don't like to see people, aka life outrage, in the state for the rest of their life. Or if they're gonna be like that or they sign up for that, don't come near me. Like, I don't want to be near you. And that's the thing. Basically, going through that, you get it kind of washed out of your brain. Like, hey, you used to be like this, then you're expected to be rigorous in something else and succeed and excel and all this nonsense. But when you realize, like, wait, none of this really matters. But if you want something, go get it. If you don't want it, it's okay. Don't do the thing. But don't cry and complain about it because, as they say, like, people don't like to hear it, but when they say nobody's coming to save you, it's a more common thing. I don't know, black pill, red pill, but like, oh, for men, like, you have to create value because women are born with value, so no one's gonna come save you because someone will save a woman because of whatever reasons, right? And then for a guy, it's like, oh, dude, like, sucks to be you. Like, oh, look at you. Oh, you're not making, no money, no honey, as all this nonsense, right? So, anyways, keep it going, life.
It's been great because I get to provide awareness from a different perspective. It's not just everything sucks, everything is like, you know what I mean? Like, life sucks, and like, and things like that. And yes, I will still say things like, because I'm starting to realize more and more now that it's not that life technically sucks, because I realize now how much there is actually a lot of beauty in this world. There's actually so much to life that we can actually enjoy and appreciate. And this is what this awareness has made me realize, and this is what stepping away from a job has made me realize a lot more now. And
Simply put, I would say it's the sacrifice. It's your choice of what do you sacrifice. For example, some people, they may stay back to be close to their parents because maybe they're aging, maybe they care so much about them. It's not a bad thing to be close to them, but that's the choice, right? By being there, if you're from like a small town or no opportunity, or that's again the job market, right? You can make money online nowadays, you can do so many things, but it's about where you spend your time, it's about where you spend your thoughts. And if you choose to not take certain steps, then you won't get, that expected outcome. For example, if you choose, like, okay, I'm gonna go to school from 18 to 22, 21, 3, whatever, college, right, and then get some degree, and then that degree turns out to be nonsense, and you're not making any money, and you have student loans, guess what? That was a choice, which, yeah, it sucks that it's so young and everyone's doing it. The sheep are following, the system is take on all this debt, and then you're kind of holding the bill. And if you look into, there's not a finance channel, but you can check out the main channel of mine. But bankruptcy, when you declare it, like, student loans don't go away just like that because it's basically a productive loan for the economy. So it's like, brother, you took a loan to go make more money, so go make more money basically and go pay it off. But like, other things can be, written off from your record. But yeah, you basically could declare bankruptcy, and I'm sure there's very minutia and details around this. But at a very high level, there are certain things like you can go bankrupt, you're still on the hook, literally, and there's no two ways around it. It's freaking crazy. But the sacrifice you choose, it's basically choosing, if this, maybe you don't get that. But if you choose that, maybe you definitely don't get this, right? Maybe you don't move to another state for a better opportunity or a different country, or if you don't travel, you may not see certain experiences, but what did you do at the time instead? If you're gonna, go abroad and try to find the same type of food, the same type of vibe that you find in the same place you're from, are you really exposing yourself to that, culture's, locale and what they do, right? Their food, their language, their whatever, right? So it really is like a choice. And when you're aware of that, you're like, dude, I spend so much time optimizing for the wrong thing, and I'm guilty of it too. But knowing that now it's a choice of, well, what is the sacrifice I'm willing to do, and if I do it, it's basically that back and forth, right? And there's always going to be that thing, like, just because you don't take advantage of something in the moment, or you do, that output or that expected outcome may still not happen. And that's like the risk versus reward of life, all across the board. Just because you take a risk doesn't mean you get the reward, and just because you take heavy risk doesn't mean you get a bigger reward. but the expected probability, like from a probability perspective, expected value, yeah, you're expected to have a higher reward by taking higher risk, but it depends what vehicle or what thing you're doing, right? If you jump off a building for views, yeah, you may get a lot of money, but like unless you have the safeguard, or like the 50th or 500th time you do a, what is it, the trapeze kind of thing on a mountain, and like you fall off that thing, yeah, you probably safeguarded yourself. But there's some people that like do freehand rock climbing and stuff like this. I consider it nonsense, but the reason I do is not from an athletic standpoint. I consider it like, you want to do that with your life, you do it, but like we're past the time where we need to be monkeys and stuff, and all of this nonsense. But I'm also not saying go watch Netflix for all your life and just sit on the couch or be a couch potato and all of this. So we're all human, man. Keep it going, life.
And so now my philosophy is more like, this everything that I complain about is a systemic issue. It is not, well, for some other people, they'll think that existence is a flaw and they don't want it, and that's, I totally respect their opinions, their worldview, but my worldview is that, life could be so much better than this if we had a better system, or if we had no system at all, because a lot of the struggles that we go through are very artificial, and it makes everything feel so absurd. Already the fact that, our survival is based off how many digital numbers we have in our bank account and things like that. So, and, or little things like how our entire lives depend on if a boss accepts us or not, or if it hires us, and then they have like 300 applicants and, things like that, and these are all the things that
I will say, this is kind of, I think, one of the core pillars of my not agreement with your philosophy of that, hey, in this world, I think the assumption is if there was no system, it's all like happy-go-lucky, like everyone's kumbaya potentially, and there still may be certain things that are not, it's not YouTube friendly to say, like example, like RAPE and stuff like this, right? That happened back in the day, right? Or like that's just what happened for multiple generations to a lot of people, right? And so systems came through because there was a greater good type of feeling of like, let's make sure we're sorted. But I think what happened down the line is like people at the top were like, wait, we can control people at the bottom, basically like a pyramid. And eventually, especially in America, like let's go outsource, where like people in America, this is a whole other video about wage growth and what's a minimum wage and deserved, money for a certain thing. But if you can have people still do the same work but for cheaper, it's like, why not? So all of that to say, like, if we had no system, it is very good for many people, but it's also very bad for a lot of people as well. So if you're not born under, a king or nepotism or all these things, celebrity, politician, and have those avenues, you can always network your way up there. It's not guaranteed, right? At the same time, if there was no system at all, there's no 300 applicants applying for one job, which is a 0.33% or whatever math that is of getting, into the thing, right? Maybe getting an interview, but then you got to actually get the job. And we're not getting into mathematics here, but the point is that without a system, you can't even get that far. But it comes down to then who you know. And so if nobody likes me, if nobody likes, you watching right now or Life Outrage, it basically becomes what? It becomes old school, like alphas and betas, as they say. Like you have the lion, and a lion, it's different because they have like one alpha and a bunch of followers, or like a queen bee or a queen ant or whatever, and they have like one main, king position, queen position, and all these soldiers, right? And so long story short, I would say that, hey, unless you're the most likable person or the strongest one of the bunch, like you can win. But if you're just going to be one of many, then what's the difference, right? It could be worse than a minimum wage life where maybe there really is one big strong person, right? So like in today's world, America, the government, they're the biggest military. If they want to go against, America, we're going to screw you, from a political standpoint and all this. But it's so dumb because we're all humans fighting each other on made up lines called countries. And that's a different topic, right? But what does that mean? That means that basically that one person could have all the resources and everyone gets zero. So if there's no system, this is a way of saying, hey, people at the top are going to have what they have, and people at the bottom can hate the people at the top, but the people at the bottom, per se, basically everyone minus the 0.000 whatever percent, at least they have a system that they can live and survive and whatever. But honestly, it's the same thing, right? There is a system because the people at the top benefit from people being stuck in this thing called the rat race, where they're earning money, where they can spend, where that money goes to the top, and basically they never get out of it because there's nothing to get out of because they're always stuck in this box. And until you get out of thinking, that I'm stuck in this box, aka the labels and everything we're talking about, you're never gonna get out of it. So I basically agree that, yeah, like the world could be better, but not for all. And the question is, life to you or even to me, if there was no system, would we be in a better place than we are today? And I mean, we can never answer that, but I can definitely feel that the grass is always greener. So this is a point that we'll probably go back and forth on, in perpetuity, but who knows?
We go through that I find so fucking absurd, and that I'm asking myself, why do we even go through this shit? Like, why? I mean, like, there could be.
The reason we go through it is because I think it's a catch-22. It's the system keeping, in my opinion, in America at least, we keep everyone divided. We keep everyone, hey, everyone has their own bill. Like, it's absurd to even me. I'm like, wait, everyone has their own mobile plan bill, their own, electricity, water, like apartment, one bedroom, one bath. I'm living out of after 18, I'm out of my parents' home. I got my own place. And everyone has, they're all divided. They're all paying their own thing. So, like, you're getting more per person versus, traditionally, I'm not saying this the right way, right? But if you have 10, 20 people living under the same roof, you have one rent payment or one, mortgage or whatever, and everyone's earning quote unquote income, and they have one less big line item, which is basically how you get screwed, right? The shelter is basically, oh, it should be 30% or less of your budget or whatever. No, man, people are paying almost everything, right? Just to live. And so with all that said, it's kind of like, all right, that's how they get you. You basically are divided. You basically have no way to trust each other. And then guess what? If there's a chaotic moment like a COVID or just chaos, no one trusts each other. Everyone has their own thing. You're not strong as numbers. You cannot come together to band together to take over the system. So the system prevails. And that's kind of why this is. We can all talk about it online. And the problem is, like, this video, if you're watching it, who knows, right? Or even Life's Outrage eventually, if it goes against the system or the ideology, right? That's where the social media platforms, aka essentially the government, has control. And who controls the government? The people at the top. So there's ever like that inkling of, oh, things are gonna, whatever, that's where censorship happens and all these things. And people say like, oh, we have free speech and all this nonsense. But in the end, if someone doesn't want you to have free speech, you're not going to be on this planet, like, without saying the words, if you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's a crazy world, man.
There could be a different way of life. We could actually be in a better place, but no, we we let shit like this happen. So my philosophy now is more like, life can be beautiful. Life is beautiful. There is so much to appreciate, but it's really the system that prevents us from appreciating this life to the fullest. The system weighs us down. The system prevents us with, obstacles and rules and, things that you have to do.
It's all about control. It's all about control. If I cannot control you, like if I'm the guy at the top, then what are you going to do? You're probably going to try to take my position. Whether I like to believe or you believe that's the case, you may be the nicest person ever. But there's an expression that once I heard it, I was like, damn, that's true. And it's not an expression, it's, I guess, a heuristic or a fact. It's like, power is not given, power is taken. And I'll say it again, power is not given, power is taken. When you realize what that really, if you think about it, it's like, well, dang, right? Like, power may be given like a king to their son, the prince or whatever, right? But like, when you think about how we're all animals, like, it's so like, crazy to say, right? But we just like we eat meat, and I'm not like vegetarian or vegan, right? But like, there's that other side of things, right? Of, oh, it's like a good day because they don't exist, and it's like, how did it happen? You'll never see that on the news or certain things. It's just, all right, that's how it's kept. Yeah.
Digital numbers, they do prevent us, but my idealistic side has allowed me, my dreamer side has allowed me to kind of just, imagine a world where things were different, and that's what kind of, that is one of the things that does keep me going in life. That imagination of seeing things, the possibility of something different, and yeah, just the possibility that is what it's little glimpses of hope like that that do keep me going, and just things like that. And I know for a fact that we won't be able to. I don't know if we'll ever be able to change the system entirely. I don't know if in our lifetime. But with this channel, I'm hoping it does inspire change in some capacity, in some way. It gives people awareness to certain things about this world, because my mind is just constantly thinking about so many things. And the more I think about these things, the more I'll express it, the more people are going to wake up or something. I don't know. But I also...
That's literally exactly why I created my channel as well. Like, literally, if there was one person that could be like, there could be this mindset out there where it does get better, it can be better, and it is better. Like, that same ideology. So, mad respect. Very cool.
Know that, as long as we live, we can't, like, at least I can't, because I don't really see myself living off grid or anything. Like, it just doesn't feel like for me. But at the same time, like, we all have to depend on the system in some capacity. We won't be able to escape 100%, but we can still find ways to navigate the system in some way, and I try to keep imagining that possibility of that life can be different, and also at the same time reconnecting with my inner child and keeping that intact, which I have made a video on it last week. But just little things like that. And again, I'm not saying that the world is all sunshine and rainbows suddenly. I'm not saying that I'm optimistic. I'm not saying that I'm completely hopeful right now, and things like that. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm still going to call out the bullshit. I'm still going to see things the way they are, because that's the reality. That's the reality that I see right now. I won't deny it. I won't lie about it. I won't suppress these thoughts. Like, if I see something wrong, I'll fucking think about it and I'll say it to you guys. That is what keeps this channel real. It's what keeps me being real and authentic. But I'm still going to have that little side of myself that's just going to see the little possibilities of something different, that life can be better than this, and appreciating beautiful things, beautiful places, and nature itself. Like, nature is actually one of the things that does keep me going as well. And little things like my passions. I know like I said, some of my passions do require digital numbers. So that's why I brought up the topic of I can't escape the system 100%. But that's why I say, like, finding ways to navigate through the system, and while still calling out that it sucks, while still calling out that everything about the system and society is just bullshit. There's almost so much fakeness and all that stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video to explain where I am in life right now. The contrast of where I was at the beginning of the year and where I am now. I know and I'm not gonna be like these people with a new year, new me bullshit. No, that's not what I'm saying. And I know we're not even at the end of the year yet, but we're kind of almost there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.